Hey all, I'm Time for Coffee, and today I'm making a couple loaves of French bread. As always, I'll post the recipe in Down Under. This recipe has a part that's best to do the night before you plan to bake. What I'm making here is called sponge. This will end up giving the bread a nice full flavor. You'll need a cup of lukewarm water and a half teaspoon of yeast and the same amount of white sugar. This will give the yeast a gross little bath to multiply in. Let the mixture sit for 10 to 15 minutes to activate, and then add it to 1.5 cups of bread flour. You can use all-purpose flour too. I've done both. It tastes great either way. I've found that the bread flour version leaves you with a chewier loaf. Stir it up until the flour is all incorporated. Wrap with plastic. Wrap it with goddamn plastic wrap. Wrap it with plastic and leave it on the counter overnight or up to 16 hours. The longer you leave it, the more flavor develops. Alright, check out how bubbly it got overnight. The more air pockets that get into the bread, the better. That's why it's always a good idea to make bread with a starter like this one. Make another gross yeast cesspool with 1 cup of luke water, 1 teaspoon of yeast, and 1 tablespoon of sugar. Let it sit for 10 to 15 minutes again to activate. I like to give it a stir to get things going. In a large mixing bowl, mix together 3 cups of flour. I like to do a mixture of half bread, half all-purpose flour, and a tablespoon of salt. Add the sponge too. I find this is easiest to do with already floured fingers because of how stuck to the bowl it is. Add the yeast and water mixture and bring it all together to incorporate. Get your hands in there and start bringing it together. Let it rest for about 10 minutes. Dump the dough onto a floured surface and start rolling and folding. You will need to add a little flour as you go. You want the dough to be tacky but not sticking to your fingers. Knead the dough for about 10 minutes. Time for hyperspeed. Okay, so I like to make this recipe in 2 loaves, so here I cut it in 2 and round them off. You can definitely make this into 1 large loaf if you want. Grab a couple large mixing bowls and add some olive oil. Wipe them down on the inside of the bowl to grease them. Add your dough and cover them with plastic wrap and a towel. Put them in a nice warm spot for an hour or until the dough doubles in size. Okay. Here we go again. So the dough is doubled in size. Gently pick up the dough and stretch it into a rectangular shape. Fold the dough over in thirds like you would a letter to go into an envelope, and then one more time in half. Roll it back into a ball shape and put it back into the bowl, cover it again, and put it in a warm spot for another hour or until it doubles in size again. Preheat your oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 230 degrees Celsius. Place a pizza stone in the oven on the middle rack if you have one, and also a shallow roasting pan on the very lowest rack. Take a pizza peel or baking sheet and dust liberally with flour. Place the dough on top and then cut 2 or 3 slices in the top of the dough with a razor blade or scissors about 1.5 inches deep. Gently slide the dough onto the pizza stone and then spray the inside of the oven with a spray bottle of water. Add a cup of water to the roasting pan and close the door. Lower the temperature down to 425 degrees Fahrenheit and spray the inside of the oven every 2 to 3 minutes for the first 15 minutes of baking time. For the last 15 minutes of baking, rotate the bread 180 degrees and leave it to bake without spraying. Remove from the oven and enjoy. I'm Time for Coffee, and I hope you enjoyed this recipe. For more, please like and subscribe.